Hello, I'm Bishop Garland Hunt, and this is the Power of Hope devotional. Listen, I appreciate this so much, those of you who've been following pretty consistently, and I hope that I'm not letting you down. Every one of these devotionals, I want them to meet some need in your life. So let me ask the question. I start off asking questions, and the lawyers like to ask questions. But I want to ask you, who was your first love? Wow. Why is Bishop asking me a question like that? Yeah, I'm serious. Who is your first love? Or who was your first love? You remember? You know his name? you know how you felt? Well, actually, the Lord talks about that. Yeah, it was a trick question. The Lord talks about it actually in the scripture about the first love. And it's actually here in Revelation. And he's actually talking to the church of Ephesus. And with this church, the church has done some great things. The church of Ephesus, you know, Ephesians, the book of Ephesians, yeah, that was the church of Ephesus. So they really did some great things. The scriptures actually talks about it in the context of how the Lord was very pleased with them. And he says, I know all the things that you do. This is actually taken from Revelation chapter 2, 1 through 7, if you want to look at it. And I'm reading out a New Living Translation. But he says there, I know all the things you do. I've seen your hard work and your patient endurance. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He said, I've seen your hard work and your patient endurance. He was basically saying, you guys have been doing work, you're doing things in ministry, you've been consistent, and I love how patient you've been about the work that you're doing. So he appreciated that. He talked to the church of Ephesus specifically and gave them accolades for the work that they're doing. Then it goes on further, and it says, and I know you don't tolerate evil people. So you're not tolerating evil. So things that are going on, people that have evil intentions, things that are doing evil, you don't tolerate it. You don't. You're clear. You have a very clear standard for your life. He wants to make sure you have a very clear standard. And then it goes on to say, you've examined the claims of those who say they're apostles and are not. So those that claim to be apostles and they're not really apostles, you call them out. You called them out, actually. And it's very, very clear about it. He wanted to make sure, so I see all these things that you've done, and you've done it very well. And then it says, and you discovered that they are liars. So not only did you just call them out, you say you've been lying. Then it goes on further. It says, but. Oh, when someone says but. Hey, you ever heard a person talking to you say, well, I want to just say I really appreciate this time with you. I really appreciate all the things that you said, things that your arguments are really good. And then you can hear it coming. But I do have something I want to say. But I do disagree with something you said. But I'm leaving you in a few minutes. I mean, it's almost like you set up for the but. You can feel it coming, and you're hoping that it continue to say positive. But then there's a but. Well, there's a but here. It says, but I have this complaint against you. I have one complaint against you. This is the Lord talking to the church. I have one complaint against you. And it says, you don't love me or love each other as you did at first. In King James, it says you lost your first love. The love that you had for me at first, you lost it. But in New Living, it's interesting. It says not only you love for me, but even how you love each other. So this is the issue. Look, and it said, look how far you've fallen. And sometimes people talk about how they've fallen out of love. So he's looking at the intensity, the passion, the dedication of that love. So that's why I said, do you remember your first love? Because it's something very unique about that first love, that you really give it up to. You've never been in love before, and you just give your whole heart to them. And I'm not really trying to bust you out about a person, but now I'm really talking about your love for the Lord. The Lord looks to you and says, well, how did you love me at first, and what failed? You're not as intense. You're not as committed. You're not as devoted. You don't talk to me as much. You're not in communication. Your prayer life is failing. You're not hooked into the vine. You don't know my heart. All these things, these are things that people would actually say too. They say, well, you haven't texted me. You haven't called me. We don't talk. You don't know my heart. In other words, we had all this once before, but now we don't have it. So he says that even though you're still doing ministry, and I appreciate all the ministry that you're doing, but you still don't have it. You've lost your first love, and that's a complaint I have against you. I want to ask you a question again. Who was your first love? It should be Jesus Christ, nobody else. And because of that, you standing in passion for him, dedication to him, devotion to him. Don't let them call your name out and say you lost your first love for me. This is Bishop Garland Hunt. This is the Power of Hope Devotional. I'll talk with you next time.